My career sucks.
Sex just isn't the same.
What's my purpose?
Where did this fat come from?
My relationship is killing me.
I'll never be happy.
My debt is piling up. I'll never find love. Why can't I be like other gay guys? Hey guys, it's time to get a grip, stop whining, make a bold move, and do something amazing with your 40-plus gay life. Let's get to the show with your Tell It Like It Is host, Rick Clemons, who does his best to never act like a dick or a diva unless you act like one first.
Hey guys, it's time for another episode of 40-plus Gay Men Gay Talk, where we just quietly, in our own way, talk about the bullshit we do as gay men. Let's get real, okay, guys? And I am so excited because it's been a bit since I've had a conversation with someone who I know is going to just be honest, brash, truthful, bring himself to the conversation. Some of you have probably seen him. I'm just going to say he's got a good Instagram following out there. Of course, that's because he takes his shirt off half the time, but we'll go there too. But he's a writer. He explores everything under the sun in a really beautiful human contradiction sort of way. And he's not afraid to be vulnerable and speak his truth. He has a brand new book out called Boys, Bars, and Becoming, which I couldn't wait to bring to you all because it explores where we've been as gay men over the years and all these things that we become as we grow into it. He's fun. He's got quick wit, and I'm so honored to have him. Huck Smith from good old DFW. Welcome to the podcast, buddy. Glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. See, he threw that little drawl in there. I heard it right from there. That was the first time I heard it. We've been talking before we went on the air, guys. And it's like, there it comes. There it comes. So I am truly glad you're here, man. And I was sharing with Huck before we came on the air that he pitched me and I'm like, okay, I guess. And then I'm like, oh, wait, this name, I know this name. And I got on Instagram, like, okay, this is who this one is. But so what inspired you, man, to start really doing this lovely videos and this truth talking that you do? What was the impetus there before we even get to the book?
So I think a lot of us have a lot of things we think in our head and we don't say out loud because there's a fear of judgment or criticism. And I'd gone through some things earlier in my life, and I had been doing a lot of writing, and I thought about potentially putting together a collection for a book. And I went on a fitness journey, and I started doing these walk and talks at the park. And so I started taking some of the essays that I've written and truncating them down and sharing them online. And I found that there seemed to be this gap specifically for men of a certain age, of things that we just weren't saying out loud. And it gave people permission to sort of chime in and say, me too. And it sort of just took off. What went from being, oh, look at me, I'm getting in shape, wink, wink, I'm going to take my shirt off just for some views and some likes, turned into something significantly deeper, and that built upon itself. And that's sort of how I got here.
That's fantastic. Yeah, it actually reminds me of a friend of mine. She's a business writer, but she's got some really great books out there. And her second book that came out, and you remind me how you do this of her book. Say what they can't unhear. And every time I hear you, I'm like, okay, you'd have to be drunk and high or something as a gay man to some people I'm sure listen to you like, I'm done. I don't need to listen to this. But there's always a beautiful message. There's something that just draws me in. And maybe it's because I love finding people like you, like, oh, this guy's got something really interesting to say. In fact, one of the ones that just recently touched me, and I don't know when you recorded it, but you were laying in bed and you're like, one of the things that we often don't really think about when, the inevitable happens is, that empty space.
Yeah.
That empty space. And it's interesting because my husband and I have been together. We're going on 25 years in September. Neither one of us can sleep when the other one is out of town. Yeah. Because that empty space. And I know you're talking about the empty space of being in a relationship, but those are the moments, Huck, that just, for me at least, kind of clench that beautiful essence of truth.
I think one of the things that so many of us experience, we don't want to say out loud because it it makes us feel weak or vulnerable. And then the ones who do say it, and I'm not trying to be too hard of a critic, but then they'll lean so far into it that it becomes melodramatic and we're
Mhm.
missing like the truth of it, that it's not always like in that video in particular, just saying like, God, I really miss having somebody next to me, just like their hand on my thigh, or just
Yep.
like the presence that you feel or the weight of their body. And it's
Mhm.
not about any big dramatic thing, and it doesn't have to be about a big dramatic thing to share it. And I think that's what makes it relatable, because so often online, it's no different. Like the best analogy I can give to it is like when you eat a potato chip, you eat a potato chip and it's a very simple thing and you're like, it's good. But when you watch people online eat a potato chip, it's a very big production and
Right.
wide eyes and sounds of a potato chip being eaten. And I think sometimes some of the content that's created is so hyper sensationalized, and it's like, well, that's not the real moment we're really grieving, right? Because you can grieve it if your partner has passed, you can grieve it if you had it and you just broke up, and you can grieve it if you have never had it. And it's not always a monumental moment that is soul crushing, but there is a palpability to it.
And I don't know that we as humans, but especially as gay men, well, let's start with men and then gay men. We battled this. Don't let him see it. Don't let him see the emotions. Don't let him see that you feel something. Don't let him hear you speaking your truth. It's really hard because that's what we've been pushed down in so many different ways, regardless of quote unquote how out gay we are or not out gay we are. There's still this essence of, ooh, don't be that. You don't want to draw attention to you. And I think that's why so many gay men struggle with these conversations that you're spawning. I hope I'm spawning those too, where let's just be real. Let's have some real conversations around this stuff.
I think there's a tag on the back of my book that says we're human first, gay second. And I think
Mm,
specifically men of a certain age, the world has changed dramatically in a lot of ways for the
sure.
better, but men of a certain age were taught that men behave a specific way.
Yep.
And then you add in the armor of being closeted and having to perform for a large portion of your life. And then we're told, oh, well, if you're this vulnerable, if you share this, if you're really open about it, then, oh, you're clingy or you're a red flag, instead of just you're a human having a human experience that is emotional and that is okay.
Yep.
And that's so much of what I like to explore is like, what is the human first aspect? Like,
Mm,
yes, being gay does play a significant factor into it, but it's not the only factor. But a lot of it, I would almost feel sometimes, and almost want to argue sometimes, it's more men of a certain age than men of a certain sexuality that we
yep.
really do find the construct of how we're told we're supposed to be.
Yes. Well, in that construct, I mean, I've had these conversations over and over with guys that are at least 40 plus. Mostly my crowd now is like the 50 on up into the 60s crowd. Like, we don't want to not admit we're masculine. We have to be masculine. We have to be this. We have to be that. And the moment that any little thing happens that makes this, I've seen it on some gay cruises I've been on, like you'll see the armor up on some of these guys that are of that age. And then suddenly it drops a little bit. And there's almost like this reaction, like, oh, I'm not supposed to let that happen. And it's really sad to feel like we are quote unquote stuck in that kind of, you know,
I think part of
mentality,
it
but it's truth.
part of it really comes from our youth, where
Absolutely.
what defined masculinity, you start performing at this young age. I write about it in my book because I've done it and I'm guilty of it. You drop your voice just a little bit.
Yep.
You sort of stifle your mannerisms.
Yep.
It's okay to be campy in this one moment, but the rest of the time you are performing this version of yourself. And when you
Mm-hmm.
get to a certain age, you step back and you wonder, what is the real me? What is that the real me? Or have I just become so good at living in this performance that I've been, quote, method acting in my life, that I don't know where the real version of me has stopped and the version I've created begins, and where they marry together. And when we have those moments where we are at our most comfortable because we feel our safest and the armor drops, you'll have a friend that'll either look at you, right? And these are our own friends doing it, that'll look at
Yes.
you, and I don't want to call it judgment, but but it is a little bit where it's like, oh, wait, I saw that part of you. And then we recognize it in ourselves. I also think it's why so many gay men of a certain age have such, and I've seen it in a aggressive personality trait towards the younger men who are just very feminine and living their true full lives. And
Mhm.
I think that is because one, there is not jealousy in the traditional sense but we never got to do that. And we spent so many years trying to kill that part of ourselves,
Yep.
trying to hide it and stifle it down, that when we see it out in the world, in the wild, we almost don't know what to do with it because
Hmm.
we have told ourselves, do not let that show. That is bad. That is bad. And we've self-induced it. But then when we see somebody else doing it, there's a part of that that still comes through where we point the finger at it. Not that it is really about them. It's truly we're pointing the finger at what we see in ourselves of that.
Well, and that's just human nature. I mean, what somebody calls out the most on somebody else is always more about them than it is about the person. It's just it's
100%.
it's such an interesting dynamic. I saw it at a good friend of mine, Court Vox, who is an erotic sex coach in our community. I was at his retreat. Oh God, we're going over a year and a half ago now. And I was there to participate, but I'm like, okay, I'm taking off the coach hat. I'm taking off everything else as well. But I was like, okay, I'm just going to be in it. Right. And witness, even in myself, Huck, the vulnerability that I was like, okay, I guess I'm actually going to go to some spaces, and then to witness it as and other guys who were just like they were holding back, they're pushing back, like this is not who I'm supposed to be. This is not what I'm. It was such a beautiful thing to like observe because it's like I said at one point I pulled Court aside because I helped promote his stuff and I said, this is really interesting. I could see every one of those guys and their little boy as it was unfolding.
100%.
And I think that's something I've noticed as I've watched some of your just amazing dialogues and videos online. I just feel this energy of like some of the guys watching this, their little boy is throwing inner tantrums right now
Yeah, I usually
because
get
you're
DMs
pushing
from
some
those little
buttons.
boys. Yeah, those
Yeah,
when it triggers them that much, they will send some pretty assertive DMs,
I'm
uh,
sure.
which you just have to, take with a grain of salt. It's really water off a duck's ass because that has nothing to do with me. If a video online has upset you that much, it's clear that it's
Mhm.
resonating in a space within you that you haven't sort of tackled yet.
Yeah, exactly. So speaking of boys, we have the book Boys, Bars, and Becoming. So you was this like I got to do this book, or was it you started doing the videos and all this stuff, and it all kind of culminated? How did this come into being?
I had a really unique experience in 2013. Um, and I started writing from that experience that had happened. I was in the hospital with an infection in the cerebral spinal fluid around my brain. And when they finally figured out what was wrong with me, which it was a really long journey to get there, I would have to go back and get lumbar punctures for them to put the medicine in the cerebral spinal fluid because that's sort of the only way in. And I met a little girl in the hospital lobby who had just struck up a conversation about my t-shirt, and she was 8, and she had said, "Oh, what are you here for?" And I said, "Oh, I have an infection in my brain." And she goes, "Oh, are they going to fix you?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, they're doing a great job." She goes, "Oh, thank God, otherwise you wouldn't go to heaven." And I was like, What do you mean I wouldn't go to heaven?" I didn't say that to her, but I was thinking, how do you know? And she, like any good 8-year-old, just continues on their story. And she says, "Well, because you'd be a zombie because of your brain." I was like, that logic checks out. And without thinking, I just said, "Oh, what are you here for?" She says, "Oh, I'm getting pain medication." And instead of reading the room and looking at her mom's face, I was just like, oh, are they going to fix you? And she says, no, I'm terminal.
Mm.
And there's this really weighty moment of silence where I'm looking at her mom with such guilt, like I've really stepped in it and I've reminded the mom of something that she doesn't need to be reminded of. And then, this little girl just breaks the silence, goes, hey, do you think my cat's going to be in heaven? And I was like, yeah.
Mm.
Well, she goes, oh, that's great. I can't wait. And she goes, so we're talking a little bit more. And she goes, do you think my grandpa will be up there? I said, yeah, of course your grandpa's going to be up there. And she goes, can you do something for me? I was like, absolutely what? She goes, well, when it's my time to get called up, if I haven't finished my puzzle, do you think you can get together with my mom and help her finish it? Because I don't want her to be lonely. And moments like that will gut you in ways you can't explain. I was complaining that I had to drive back to the hospital to get another treatment that, like, oh, I didn't have the boyfriend of my dreams, or I didn't have
Right.
whatever it was. And you have this 8-year-old girl who's never fallen in love, never had a first kiss, never traveled, and all she cares about is finishing a puzzle and if her mom is going to be okay. And that was the first thing I really documented. And I wrote this essay, and I've shared that story with other people because it really shifts how you view the world, what you're taking for granted, and what are you really complaining about. Like, and so I started just, documenting essays, and I had this collection, and I really wanted to put it together, but I wasn't sure how to do it. And so I started telling the stories on social media and found that I'll say this, I found certain stories really resonated with people and others
It
didn't,
didn't, right?
as social media is. And so the ones that really resonated, I then put together in a collection, and that's how the book came to be. And then I had a really good editor who said, your essays are in the wrong order. I never thought, I've never done a book before, so I didn't think the order of the essays mattered. And then moving the essays around really has this cohesive through line of a true story arc. And that's how the first book came to be. And I continued to do it. My second book will come out in September of this year. And it really is the same thing, is putting pieces of the essays online and sort of having that be the testing ground.
Mm.
Now, the downside to that is there are a bunch of people who think I'm an absolute unhinged lunatic on social media. They think, oh my God, this guy's always got drama going on in his life every day. And I do try to be very transparent and tell people, like, the experience I'm sharing with you is emotionally true. It's not always happening in real time.
Right.
This is I think I posted the essay about the little girl a year ago, but that happened in 2013. So there are a good number of people who assume that this is happening in real time. And it's like, oh, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Huck's got some real problems going on,
Right. Right.
you know. Um, I do also speak a lot about the woes of dating. I did I met someone on TikTok and got into a relationship with them very fast, and I had documented a portion of that.
Hmm.
And that ended very abruptly, in a very not great way. And so that storyline just sort of ended, but people become very invested on social media and then
Sure.
want to know um, what happens. And so I started filling the gap with the essays because I did not want to share that portion of my life. I feel like I'd given enough of that storyline
Right.
away.
It's so interesting because there is this dance, for me as a coach. I'm always doing this dance on social media. Like, do I want to come off as super coachy, or do I like, okay, so here's something that's happening with a lot of gay men. A lot of gay men are lonely. And a lot of that's because we do it to ourselves. We have one lonely experience happen, and then we're like, okay, nobody wants to be with me. So I'm not, but then I have to go, okay, but am I trying to get clients, or am I, it's this interesting
Yeah.
dance on the dance floor, and I find it when I'm just really like, okay, here's what's going on. I posted a couple of months ago, like, okay, I lost my job. This really freaking sucks because I loved what I was doing. I don't know what I'm going to do next. I'll probably build the coaching practice up, but this sucks. It was a hit. I'm like, okay, but do I always want to be doing that too?
Yeah.
So it's such an interesting thing. as
I
you were
wrote it.
speaking through this, it was
Yeah.
so interesting that you talked about the little girl, because this is years and years ago, Huck. My youngest was probably first grade or second grade at the time. And I was always very open about being a gay parent. I'd go have the conversations with the teachers. Say, here, you need to know this before each school year starts. Out of respect for you, especially with my youngest, she'll probably say something, which she always did. And it was all cool. And we're at some school event, and this little guy, I say little, he was in her grade, came up to me and goes, "You're Riley's dad, right?" I'm like, "Yep." And so is he. And I'm like, "Oh God, here we go." Right. I'm like, "Where's your parents? Where's your parents? I want to make sure I don't say." He goes, I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "I got a question for you, Mr. Rick," because I had worked in the classroom. I worked from home. I've been working from home forever. Because I got a question for you, Mr. Rick. And that's what they all call me. Like, okay. Do you think I'm going to be gay? I'm like, holy crap. What
Wow,
do
that's
I
a
do
loaded
with this?
question.
And I said, well, you could, but you could also be straight. He goes, "What's straight?" I'm like, oh, shoot. I just really jumped in the shit there. I said, well, straight's like your mom and dad. He goes, well, my mom and dad aren't married. So does that make my dad gay? I was like,
Oh my God.
this little guy was just going. I said, no, no, no. I said, there's people who are straight. There's people who are heterosexual. I said, I know that's a big word. Gay is homosexual. And I'm like, and then there's others. Like, and then of course he went, well, what's the others? I'm like,
Of course, as
I
every
am
gay
not.
child would.
Yeah, because as it, but I love the inquisitiveness because it helped me realize how much the honesty of being with a child can actually make this no big deal. Because just like your little girl with the puzzle, he said, "Okay, well, it's about time for me to go on stage. Catch you later." And I was like,
Well, all the fear, all
yeah,
the armor that we put on, all of that is learned experience. It's no different when you see two kids of different ethnicities.
yes,
They are not inherently racist. They just don't care. They're like, oh, this kid's fun. We're going
yeah,
to play mermaids together in the pool. It's
right,
something that is taught throughout,
yeah,
you know, our growing up. One of the essays I wrote in the book is called The Common Denominator, and it really touches on I will say that I don't look great in that essay because truthfully I did some things that are not great in that essay, but it really talks about when you've been hurt enough, when you've been disappointed enough, you start to create this list of all the ways to disqualify somebody. So you're on the apps and then you have your list of like they need to meet A, B, C, and D, and if they don't, then like no, or you've see their photo and they don't spark that thing in you immediately, and so you swipe whichever way dismisses them on whatever app you're on. So much so that one guy at one point had decided we were talking about what our sexual preference was, and I had shared mine, and he had said, "Oh, well, I'm verse," and I had just decided that's a lie. He wasn't. That this wasn't going to work out, and I disqualified him. So if they can get through all of your disqualifiers, the chance are you haven't made it through theirs. And the common denominator in all of it is you. You've done
right,
this. 20 years ago, you would go to a bar and you would walk in not knowing who was going to be there or what was going to be there. And you saw someone across the bar and it either gave you a little flutter in the chest or it didn't. And that whole concept of the accidental has just vanished because if you go to a bar now, you don't know who's going to be there, but I guarantee you're going to see more people with their heads buried in their phone to see who's there than
right.
to just pick
Have a
your head
conversation.
around. What used to happen back in the day, and I know you know this, is you would be standing next to someone back then who, if they were here today on the apps, you would not swipe on them. You would be like, no. But you both happen to be standing there. Maybe it was dollar drink night and you've had a drink or two. And so
Right.
you're talking to this random stranger and they're making you laugh. And this will become the person that will change your world in some significant way
Mhm.
because you had a moment to connect with them in some real way. There was no checklist, there was no algorithm, there was no, okay, well, here's 700 guys on a grid sitting from my couch. So why do I have to
Right.
get up and go anywhere and interact? And if you don't say the exact right thing to me at the exact right time, block, like
Yes,
next.
exactly.
And
Such an
we,
interesting culture we're living in.
yeah, and I feel badly for the younger generation who will never get to experience the sort of hoping in the dark of it all to be going. Think about how many times, and if there's, guys of a certain age will for sure know this. You went to your bar on a certain night. For me, Mondays and Wednesdays was dollar drink night at Feathers in northern New Jersey, and you would go there with your friends because it was dollar drinks. And we all know that the pour of alcohol at a gay bar.
Right.
There'd be times you'd see some handsome dude and you didn't have the courage to say hi to them that week, but you thought, okay, they were there on Wednesday, so I'm going to go back next Wednesday thinking
Exactly.
they might be there and maybe this time, maybe I'll say something. And sometimes you did, and then sometimes you didn't. But if you did, you either, I mean, not me, of course, because I'm an angel, but you
Of
either went home
course.
with them, you either went home with them that night, or you made plans to see them on a certain day. You'd meet them on a Friday, you'd go out on Saturday, and usually by Tuesday when you're young, right? Because we dated
Right.
people. But by Monday they were the one, and by Tuesday it was over, and you were back at the bars with your
Right.
friends, seeing someone new. But
Mhm.
all of that sort of organic getting to know you and discovering them in real time developed naturally. When we back then, you were not in the bar, at least I wasn't, asking somebody point blank, top or bottom, what are your kinks? What is this? What is that? Monogamy, non-monogamy, who'd you vote for? Do you own or rent? You were just like, are they cute?
Right.
Am I having a good time with them? And then you would want to get to know them. And so much of that developed. And I found myself back then in relationships with where you compromised a lot more on whether it's your sexual proclivities or like what you guys did. There was just a
Yep.
more human experience. And now it's like, here are my 7 things. Do you match these 7 things? And if you do not, next. I don't care how cute you are. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Nope. Okay, bye. And it's something so minor that it's like, if you guys were to be in person, you don't know what your actual chemistry would dictate. And things you think you would be into, you might not be into, and vice versa, because there's just something that happens between two humans when you're with them, and there's real chemistry there.
Well, and when you give that chemistry space to be present, there is no chemistry invited, so to speak. I'm going to say maybe a tiny bit, but there's no chemistry invited into the online space in the apps. It's like you see the picture. Okay, there's a little bit of, okay, I think so. It was so funny the other day. I sent some young guy a message and I said, great picture, really sexy picture. That's all I said. I wasn't trying to pick him up. Okay, maybe a little bit, but you know,
You never know. You got to shoot
you
your
never know, right? And the message I got back is, you obviously don't read profiles. Leave me alone. I'm like,
Oh my God.
wow.
That sounds on point, though. Sounds accurate.
And I thought, you didn't even give it. I said, well, I was just paying a compliment. And then I did what Papa Bear would do. I said, in my day, if you made a compliment like that to somebody at the bar, you probably get lucky and maybe get a second date. Good luck.
Or at the very least, you get a beer bought for you.
Something, right? But it
Or
is. It's such a
you'd have such a good conversation of somebody you would never
right.
cross
You would
paths with.
never know.
One of
No.
the things that, I touch on is back in the day, in every gay bar, there was an old man that sat at the corner of the bar that's been going to that bar longer than you've probably been alive.
Yep.
And there was the young kid that was coming in, and there was the guy that was coming in with his fag hag who was not there for a bachelorette party.
Right.
She was there to be with the boys, to embrace that culture. But those three people do not meet anymore. And they don't develop that web in real life because everybody's at home swiping, or,
Yes.
oh, I wouldn't, no different than that young man. Like, I was chatting with the guy online, and all of a sudden he realized, and we were having a great conversation, and he then says to me, oh, no offense, I just realized you're 52. Sorry, I don't date over 45. And I was like, what? I didn't, you messaged me.
Right.
My real profile's in the age. It's like I have no
Yeah.
shame in being 52.
Right.
I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, I look like Chris Hemsworth. No, but I'm not terrible looking. And I
Right.
honestly, I like a guy that's a little rough around the edges. If you look like you got hit in the face with a canoe paddle, I'm probably into you. Like I
Right.
like a bit of a
Oh,
weathered
hold on.
fella.
Let's stop. I'm going to go grab my canoe paddle and hit me real quick. So, but it's interesting that you brought this up because we just had this conversation over the weekend. A buddy of ours moved to Palm Springs just recently, and another buddy of ours went to visit. Okay. And he hadn't been there in a while. And I said, so, yeah, did you go out? Did you? Well, we tried to. He goes, we went to Hunter's. He goes, but it was full of bachelorette parties. I'm like, okay. So there's that whole connection piece, right? It's like, and I'm not going to bash bachelorettes, even though that's why I brought this up. But there isn't the connection piece that gets to happen as much anymore because so much of what we used to do, and it's funny because my husband and I, we're the ones that go on vacation. We get home and our friends say, so what gay bars did you go to? And we're like, we didn't. We didn't.
Can I
It's
just
almost
touch
like they
on
want to take our
bachelorette
gay card
parties?
away from us. It's like,
Can I
we
touch
were.
on bachelorette parties for a second? And I'll
Yes,
just
please
say
do.
this. I'll just say it. I do think there are some women in the bachelorette party that are true allies.
Absolutely.
But more often than not, they've come in to commandeer these spaces because they are safe spaces for them.
Absolutely.
But when they go home and there's an uncomfortable conversation at the dinner table or their fiance says something, they're looking down at their dinner plate. And there is also a demographic of women. So if there is any women listening to this, please take this in. There is also then the person who thinks they're an ally, who's very vocal about it, posts all the memes, posts all the social media, but they do not realize that when the hammer swings back, they go back to their safety net and the hornet's nest gets stirred. And the trans kids and the little effeminate gay boys that are truly the most vulnerable or the elderly in our community, they weren't born with the beekeeper suit like you were.
Mm.
And the true, and again, not all women, but the true ally of who the fag hag used to be that advocated for us and marched in the street and would be the one to say something when it got uncomfortable at the dinner table, because you do see these women that come in and say, oh, I love the gay people. And what they really love is the backdrop. And they really love a
Mm-hmm.
fun story. But you will also find this demographic of women who say, oh, I went there for a safe space. I can't believe no one hit on me. I can't believe that no one bought me a drink. And it's like, ma'am, I understand it's your bachelorette party and good for you.
Yep. Yep.
And maybe you were the center of your friend's world that night, but you were at the gay bar, the spaces that we sacrificed for, that we built to save ourselves. You are not the center of our world right now. It's not that we don't love you. And I would like to then ask each of them, were we invited to Sunday brunch? Because
Yep.
more often than not, we were not, because we were just there for the fun story and for the backdrop.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
if you're having a
So
bachelorette party, remember
think
why you're going to
clearly and
that
carefully.
space.
Exactly. And I think the same thing happens. We live in wine country. And same thing. They come in and they overtake the whole winery. It's like, okay, that's cool and fun. But remember, there's other people there that are like, we're here to enjoy the wine experience and to enjoy learning. And I don't know, we could go on a whole rampage about that, obviously. But what's the thing that you are really excited about with this first book of essays coming out, Huck?
Well, part of it is excitement and part of it is nerves when the book is incredibly personal.
Yes.
And there are some things in my life I've hidden from that as we all do. And because
Mhm.
I've chosen to put them all in the book, I don't have to hide from them anymore because it
Right.
is out there for mass consumption. But with that comes critique. The book released yesterday, and
Mm-hmm.
because I've built my following on social media, which is how, I mean, I was very fortunate the book hit #1 on Amazon, and it's a beautiful thing. Things you never think of when you're writing a book, that there's actual book rankings. Uh,
Right.
Nobody goes into, I don't think a lot of people go in writing a book and thinking, how can I be #1? Of course, now I'm like, what does it take to be a New York Times bestseller? You do, once you learn about the rankings, then the wheels start
Yep.
turning. But there's a lot of it that now you're waiting for what the critique is.
Yep.
Um, it has gotten really nice reviews, and I'm thankful, but they're not all going to be nice. There are going to be some people who don't appreciate how I write or what I've written, or they see too much of themselves in there and they don't like having to be confronted with that. Um, so I'm most excited that it's out there because it truly is so much of what I've heard from the pieces that I've tested on social media is, you know, me too. I haven't been able to find the words to say this, and this is how I'm feeling. And I really do love when I hear that from people, that if I've been able to find a way to structure it, that they find themselves in the story and find a relatability to it in a way that they haven't. And I truly don't think they haven't been able to say it. I don't think they've been able to say it out loud because
Mhm.
you really gotta like just have big brass ones sometimes to just
Yes.
say, you know what, I'm going to put myself out there. And because not every piece that I've put out there has been received well. You get a lot of criticism at times. Sometimes it is truly warranted, and you're like,
Yep.
okay. And then sometimes it's like, okay, that's a you problem, buddy. Like,
Yeah.
more power to you. And then sometimes it's been able to be a really good teaching moment. I posted something on a video one time about poor me, I'm alone. But it was a nice video, but the core of it was that I was alone. And a young man had commented, if you are over and 50 and alone, it is clearly a you problem. And I was like, wow, okay. And the people in the comments came for him. Like they
Of
would like
course.
the army of social media was basically giving him a big FU. And I decided to take that video, his comment, and post it and do a video to try and let it be a teaching moment and help him understand, like, not every 50-year-old that is alone is having Peter Pan syndrome. Also, being 50 and alone is not a bad thing. There are a lot of people by choice. I had to take my partner off life support.
Mm.
You don't recover from something like that in a day or a month. I don't know that you ever fully recover from it. There's so many different reasons why people are alone at a certain age that
Yes.
has nothing to do with I'm just partying my life away. And even if and that was their choice, what is so wrong about it? I do understand you don't know what you don't know, but I do hope that sometimes the younger generation realizes you don't understand the 60, 70-year-old men who sacrificed everything to pave a road that they didn't know was going anywhere for you to have what you have today. So you can wear a purse if you want, wear nail polish or makeup if you want, that
Yep.
you can walk down the street holding hands with your boyfriends, that you can get married and live the quiet suburban life if you want. And so many of those men sacrificed so much, and they the history is so lost about what Reagan didn't do and the AIDS crisis and how people were going to funerals, how we attend birthday parties
Yep.
every week. They don't understand the gravity of what that happened, that you don't know what it's like to be the last man standing. It's hard to make friends as you get older
Absolutely.
because
Oh my
a lot of
gosh.
times you also think, could this be a love interest? And like, because at the core of it, I think a lot of us just really want some companionship, but it'd be nice
Mhm.
if like
It-
they were
it-
sexy.
yes, it would. Yes,
And
it
a
would.
lot of the younger people don't know their gay history. My ex did not know what Stonewall was, and he at that time was a 40-year-old man, and I had to educate him. In my book, I give a call out and I name the trans women who were at Stonewall and started it, because when I talk, and I open my book with an essay called Death of a Gay Bar, and I just talk about like how it's changed and what has shifted, and like it's a very nostalgic, beautiful, fun thing for me. But I name check them in there to say, it is a very beautiful, nostalgic thing for me, but I also need to be very honest about a subset of the community that never got the nostalgia. I remember there was, and to this day, I don't know if, and I will use they to be the most appropriate, if they were a cross-dresser, if they were trans, but that person never had the same comfort level in the gay bar that I did. And I didn't
Right.
befriend them. I wasn't like, oh, I would just be like, if anything, I would say, excuse me, right when I'm trying to get to the bar to get a drink. And everybody knew who they were, and they were sort of a staple in the bar because it was their one safe space. But they're not having the same nostalgic. Maybe
Mm,
now the younger ones might be. RuPaul's Drag Race is really opened a
sure.
whole world of, because so many of those girls, there are a good handful of them that have, come out as trans, and now they're living that journey for themselves. But back then, and you're talking in the mid 90s, which isn't really that, it doesn't really feel that long ago, but man, was it a different world. And the way I would try to say it to a young person is, think about how fast AI has developed and the world has shifted. That's what it's like in the gay community. When you go back, it's not that long ago we were not allowed to get married. It wasn't, but 20 something years ago, there were sodomy laws in Texas that the
Yep.
cops were kicking in doors and arresting people because the men were sleeping in the same bed with one another. That's not something
It's
that
not that
is
long ago.
100 years ago. We're talking,
Mm,
you know,
mm.
less than half my lifetime ago.
Yeah. It's such a fascinating journey, and it's always so interesting to put it into perspective. And that's why I love having these conversations and the honesty that you bring to the online world. One of the things that, as you were talking through that whole piece, I remember years ago, I was part of the P flag speaking panels.
It's my
And
favorite part of the parade, by the way.
it's
It's the only part
just,
of the parade I cry at. I
yeah,
literally will cry, and I just can't get, I literally go to the parade truly just for that.
mm,
And then I
it's so
get
gorgeous.
incredibly emotional. And if people have never, you can't put into words, even though it's usually one of the smallest sections of the parade. I mean, it's no Dykes on Bikes, right? That is like a
Yeah. Yeah.
headlining tour, but P Flag is my favorite thing of any
So
parade.
it's just, I remember volunteering. I was like, oh, I'll do this. And then I kind of got hooked on it. Like, I'm going to do this. Every chance I got, by then I had my own business so I could make room for all this. And I ended up meeting a mom in Temecula, California, whose daughter, trans son. Okay. So female to male. And I'm already getting shivers even bringing this up. And I remember the first time I watched her speak, and she said, the moment that I realized my little girl was becoming my little boy, I also realized it wasn't for me to approve of or understand. It was just for me to love. And you cannot take those moments away. And I'm hoping from our conversation today that some guys walk away from this not only going, okay, I want Huck's book number one, but with some openness to the things that some of us online talk about, is about opening those doorways to going, me too,
Yeah.
opening those doorways to going, wow, I didn't know. And also opening those doorways to go, maybe you need to be a little more curious about what's really happening in our world of LGBTQ and gay men. We
I mean,
too
I'll say
often get
this.
stuck, and then, oh, we know everything about this. But go ahead, Huck.
I'll say this, and I think this goes to a very specific portion of gay men out there, because I've seen this sort of discourse within our community. Um, is one, it is your first time going through life as well, so nobody is expected to have the answers, but it's okay to shift your perspective. You don't have to double down on something because you didn't understand it. You don't have to double down on it because you don't agree with it. And I know I'm going to get so much crap for this, but I'm going to say it. There's a group of gay men out there who are trying to separate the LGB from the T, and we would not be here without
Mm-hmm.
the T. And as much as we sit here and say, I want acceptance, I want people to, that's all other people in our community want.
Yes.
And I can't sit here and pretend that I understand what it's like to be transgender and have gender dysphoria.
Nope.
But I promise you, every gay man listening, if you woke up tomorrow and you did not have your wiener, even though nobody could see it, You would walk around all day feeling so uncomfortable, like something was wrong, even though nobody else knew it. You would know
Yes.
it. And we sit here and scream, accept me, accept me, accept me. You just have to accept me for who I am and how I live and da, and we do. But then this internal battle that we have in our community of where 25 years ago, even more so, when you were in those spaces in that gay bar in the end of the warehouse district or whatever sort
Yep.
of hidden space it was, because we had to come together because that's all we had. And I do think the T has always gotten the short end of the stick, from what I understand through history. But now it is, you're not quite a bear enough. You're not quite a jock enough. You don't have the abs. You're not going on enough circuit parties. You don't have a certain look, or you don't live in a certain neighborhood. All of this internal strife for what? When it's like, y'all just want love like everybody else. And like,
Yep.
you can not be attracted to someone and that's okay without having to make it such a big thing. And
Yes.
that makes me sad because I see it online
Mhm.
a lot of the times with people that look like me, if I'm being really honest with you. The white, go to the gym gays can at times be the biggest awful culprits of this. Like,
Yep.
I'm not saying you have to be attracted to an African American man like we, but you don't have to make it, I don't date black. Well, how do you know you haven't met every black guy? Maybe you
Exactly.
could. Because if LL Cool J came up to me and was like, I'd like to have a change of pace, I don't think I would say no. LL, if you're listening.
Don't even get at me started on black men. I am,
LL, if you're
but see,
listening.
here's the thing. I just had this conversation. Even that, I realize there is some racism in that. Like, oh, the black man, I just find it, when I find a man attractive, I find a man attractive.
Yep.
And when I do, skin color disappears, race disappears, age disappears. Well, age maybe not. It's like, okay, you're attractive, but I ain't gonna raise you. I'm not gonna spank your ass and get you to learn
But
anything.
that's
I
more
might.
about life experience and like,
Exactly. But the other piece is not. It's about like really seeing it. And Huck, I'm so glad you said that, because I realize we're not in Pride Month. Pride Month just wrapped up, gang. We're talking about his book and everything, but I think this is where we often cry wolf so much about, but I want this, I want this, I want this for me. Oh, but not for them. They're not, they co-opted the LGB. I'm like, really? Okay, if that doesn't work for you, then it doesn't work for you. But you would not be, we would not be where we are without a lot of this starting to be like, yeah, guess what? Transgender is part of the whatever it is, DSM or whatever, as far as psychology and everything. Like, remember when homosexuality was being questioned, like, is it a mental disorder and all this sort of stuff? Thank God all of this has happened. Knock on wood, stays that way. Because we just want to be accepted. We just want to be loved. We just want to be able to do our thing. You don't have to understand it. You just have to respect it. And,
I also think it's interesting, especially some of the younger ones. And I've personally experienced some of these younger gentlemen. I would never go to the gay bar. And it's like, okay, well, bro, you don't have to. I don't go to the gay bar often because I have such bad social anxiety and I feel like a weirdo walking in that if my friend is not already inside, I'm not coming in. You will text me once you're
there's some
there.
truth about Huck coming out right now.
You will
Okay.
text me when you're there. I will be in my car waiting, or I will, please walk in with me. Can we drive together?
Right.
Because God, I need my friend armor. God forbid I should get
Right,
approached.
exactly. I should be able to walk in there by myself. Oh God, no. Oh no.
It's true though.
We have more in common that we just revealed how much you and I have in common. I am not.
We'll go to the bar together. We'll feel like, okay, we're safe.
Exactly.
But there is this subset of gay men who now almost trash talk those spaces. And it's like, if we did not have those spaces, like, yes, it's great that it's more accepted. And, a lot of cities, you're starting to see that it's just sort of everywhere. But like those spaces, they're still important. Neighborhoods are still important. Those places really matter. They are still necessary. There's a reason we still have to have gay pride parades. And like, just like, hey, that man might not be attractive to you, which is fine. Those spaces don't have to be for you, but you don't have to lambast them. If you're not getting what you need from that, that's okay. But you don't have to, excuse my language, you don't have to shit all over it just because it's not
Exactly.
for you. And the
Yeah.
truth is, maybe if you went, you would see that the gayborhood, people have an idea of like when you have a gayborhood, when you're talking about the Castro or you're talking about Oak Lawn or WeHo or I mean New York now, right? The gayborhood has sort of shifted. Like, is it
All over the
Chelsea? Is
place.
it the
Yeah, yeah, right.
Village? Is it Hell's
Exactly.
Kitchen? Yes, to all of them.
Right.
Yes, the bars are a huge part of that. And if you only go at night, then that is the only understanding you have of it. But there are these amazing parts of the neighborhood. If you go to Lakewood, which is sort of what is outside of Cleveland, and most people don't know this, so I'm going to give a little fun history. If you go back, I'm not sure how many years, so don't quote me on this. There was a point in time Lakewood had a higher concentration of gay people than San Francisco, and that is outside of Cleveland. And they, in the past 2 years, 3 years, they built 100,000 square foot facility for gay people that has two field houses. It has, I don't know how many apartments of housing for gay seniors. They have a resource center. They run sports leagues. They have, I don't know, two restaurants and two bars. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
numbers, but like what those spaces are providing is more than just bars at night. And yeah, the bars at night could be really fun and go have a good
Yeah,
time.
of
But
course.
there's so much more to those spaces than just that one thing. And if you've only chosen to just see that one thing, that's fine. It's no different than I can say truthfully, I've never been to a circuit event, partly because I just don't want to spend the money on that, because I'm cheap. But those spaces and those events can be what you make of it. Can it
Yes.
be nonstop hookups? I'm sure it can. I've heard some stories. Can it be using substances you can't buy on the street? Yes. But can it also be you seeing your friends that you see once a year? Can it be a sense of community where you, because not everybody that's going to those events lives in a big city. They
Mm-mm.
don't have the access to see, 300 gay men in one small little contained space
Exactly.
every weekend. That is, they're living in rural America for whatever reason, their family or whatever. And those spaces are providing something to them that as a community, we sometimes fracture because if it's not for us, we want to like trash it. And again, I've never been to one yet. I can't say I wouldn't.
Right.
Um, that we
But
have,
it's important.
yes, no
Each
different
piece is
than,
important for our community to be supportive of our community.
but we do it in relation construct as well. For me right now, what I want in my life is monogamy. Mine is based truly in insecurity and jealousy that I would not be secure enough. I asked me if I single at the time of this podcast, just throwing that.
There's a GoFundMe to find him a
Single
date,
at the
guys. So
time.
just
Slide
just
in my
saying.
DMs, fellas. Instagram, TikTok, at Hucky Smith.
What the guys don't know is Rick's a marketing guy. So as soon as we're done with this, I'm going to help Huck kind of like reformat all his dating site stuff and get it all
I just
done.
canceled them all. I was on
That's
three.
not a bad thing to do, quite
I
honestly.
just
Quite honestly.
canceled them all where I was like, I need a break.
Yeah.
Um, Instead of just living and let live, we then, because we're so unhappy with ourselves, it's like, oh, like, I can't believe you would do this. And so why? Is it bothering you?
Right.
No one's forcing you to be in
No.
that relationship with them. Let them. It is clearly working in a way for them that they're choosing to be in it.
Yep.
Why do you care? Why do we care? Like, and you can want like, me again. So if you are listening to this and are looking for a 5'8.5" single dopey
Single.
boy who works out with blue eyes,
He's available. He's
yeah.
available.
Um,
And so is his book. His book is now available. So
yeah, that's right.
and he's also available online. You can't miss him if you go look him up, Hucky Smith. You'll find him. So
you will
Huck,
definitely
my
find it.
buddy, I'm so glad we got connected in
I
the
am
weird
too.
way that.
Thank you for accepting my request and having me
course.
on. And
Well,
Yeah.
you had a message. I knew the message would resonate, and I knew the message would trigger some. That's why I love this sort of stuff. But and I appreciate all you guys that continue to listen, because the more we start stepping in continuously to embracing each other, accepting each other exactly as we are, the better we become. Which means next time I'm going to challenge all of you to be really embracing, because I'm having a woman on the show, and she's going to talk about the crazy intersex sort of stuff that's happening, where sexuality and trauma and all that stuff. And she's a sex expert. So boys, buckle up. We got Mama coming in the house. So we're going to shift from Huck to Mama. She's a I know she got some shit to say. I'll just say that. So not that Huck didn't, but anyway, Huck, love you, brother. I just, you and I would, yeah. We'll have to go. We'll have to figure out a time when. Okay, are you ready? We'll go to the bar. I'm scared.
Yes.
Well, which one of us is going to walk in first? Okay,
I'll walk in first if I know you're with me. Like if I
okay, I'll let you walk in first, and then I'll ditch you.
Unless
Okay.
you want the entourage and you want to go in first.
Oh hell no, no, I'm not. I don't do well with the entourage stuff. So anyway, all right, guys. And if anybody would like a copy of Huck's book, the first person who emails me, Rick, I want Huck. Make sure you're clear. Do you want Huck? I can make that probably happen if he's giving me his criteria for men. Or you want Huck's book?
Yeah, canoe paddle.
Yeah, exactly. I got my canoe paddle. I said I was gonna go run and hit myself upside the head. I'd check Huck out if I was single. Let me know you want the book, and I will send it to you on my little podcast dime and give it to you. So anyway, have a good week, everybody. And again, Mama's coming in the house. Name's Fran Fry. Clutch your pearls. We're doing a woman on the show, and have a great week, everybody. Take care.
That's a wrap for 40 Plus. Gay men, gay talk, where size doesn't matter. We drop our bullshit, get over our screwed up fears, make bold moves, and live life without apologies. Don't forget to join us on Facebook at 40 Plus, Gay Men, Gay Talk, where the conversations continue.